by Mr. P. Dwarakanath. He's such a humble soul, he asked me to not introduce him. So it's very difficult to not introduce, so I'll just take liberty to speak 2 lines about you, sir. Mr. Dwarakanath, a former chairman of GSK Consumer Healthcare, brings in a rich 5 decades of experience in the domains of leadership development, human capital, and legal and corporate governance. We are very fortunate to have you with us, sir. I request Ms. Kajal Dikshit to do a floral welcome to Mr. Dwarakanath. Over to you, sir.
So thank you very much for having me here. It's a great honor and pleasure to be with you. I have 2 challenges. Number 1, post-lunch session. Number 2, most of the things what I want to say has already been said. Okay? And number 3, this is also leading to the last valedictory session. But having said that, I will try to do my best. I know you are all very distinguished people. You are well educated. I would like to introduce myself by 1 sentence. I have not changed my name. I have not changed my profession. But most of my career spent with 1 company, but that company's name has changed 5 times. So this is my quiz to you. Why it has company's name has changed 5 times? You had some answers earlier. Why did my company's name, it started with Horlicks, moved to Beecham, moved to SmithKline Beecham, then went to GlaxoSmithKline. Ultimately, when I was chairman, I sold the consumer business to Hindustan Levers. So my pension I get from Unilevers. Okay, so what does it mean? I think, whatever I talk, I think we'll try to connect with the topic, what we're doing. Otherwise, we'll be talking in a different tone. I had the benefit of listening to them, the great talks in the morning. So it's important that because of the mergers and acquisitions, 5 times I survived, 4 times I survived. Okay, because of mergers acquisition. What does it mean ultimately? I think, whether you are educators, you are all scholars, or practicing managers like me, it's important. A leader is one who can cope up with change. That's what means said Kotler. I think if you say one theme which goes across today, post-COVID, pre-COVID, post-Second World, post-Ukrainian, all that one thing, change is constant. Or you have the ability to change. I think what you teach, what you deliver, there's a lot of changes happen, should happen post-COVID. I think those who can cope up with the change well can do it. Everybody said we should predict, you should innovate, you should think about the future, but nobody thought about COVID. But when COVID has happened, I think some great innovations have happened. And being from GlaxoSmithKline, one innovation which we couldn't do it, we failed, but somebody has done, hats off to them, he said discovery of vaccinations. Nobody thought for next 5 years, he said, everybody said, you ask anyone at that time, no chance. This vaccination cannot be done unless to administer to one for 5 years. It happened in 9 months. What does it mean? It takes 2 things. It means technology coupled with human skill. So both digital skill and human skills have become the critical. I mean, this is the best example we can do it. And the way we have executed in India, I think sometimes you discover many things, but you may not be able to execute it. I think execution was done. So, if you're coming back into it, changing boundaries, you are the scholars, cutting edge practices, is not something I want to talk about jargon. But I just want to give you a perspective, how I see it. I worked for more than 5 decades, but I'm not a scholar. I have not done PhDs. but I have been associated with academia in a different sense for nearly 35 years. I happen to be teach in IMI, International Management Institute, by default. One of my colleagues who was a professor, he was going in ILO assignment. You can do, that was an evening course at that time. You do a course on performance management. I undertook it. And I enjoyed it. After started doing academic council, I was the board of IIM Kashipur and visiting professor, academic council. Currently, I'm a pro-chancellor of ILM University. So I've been a member of the NBA Management Accreditation. So I've been involved in it, but my involvement is very superficial, administrative, like what. So what I'm going to say to you is not something you don't know, but I think we are sharing our perspectives here, how we do it. So can I do a little bit exercise? I had the liberty, can I ask all of you to describe your name? If, for instance, my name is Dwarakanath. Describe my first alphabet, D, your personality. I will start myself. D stands for Democratic Dwarka or Diplomat Dwarka. Okay. Can we try from any line? Yes, please. Kind Kajal. Fantastic.
Smart Sonal.
So, very good. Fantastic. Great. Oh.
Righteous Raji.
Very good. I think you see, one thing JSK taught me. I'm sorry, ma'am. How can I ignore you, ma'am? My apologies.
So now I will change. What I wanted to say, happy Harshita. I just say happy and hilarious Harshita.
Okay, there is one more ground rule, but you didn't breach it. The other ground rule is no one should repeat the same thing. If you said smart Sonal, you can't, somebody is yes, you can't use the same word. But anyway, didn't have that. Huh? I'm sorry. How can I ignore the front rows?
Wise Vaida.
Yeah, please do. So we have to see, it reminds me, I think, it's very interesting because when we do exercise, it's what it comes first. It's sometimes, that's what it reflects. I mean, you can't ask me, I'm not a researcher, so you prove it by record, but that's how it comes. One thing GSK taught us, if I said, I don't want to get into routine, mundane stuff and to talk about it. He said, one of my global CEOs, many years back, as a French guy, J.P. Gardner, said, what we were discussing in a global level with the global CHROs, I was part of Asia Pacific head, he said, what is it GSK look for? At that time, SmithKline Beecham, beyond profile. I mean, this is the question most of the time asked for I'm just trying to relate to the topic and instead of diverting. He said it's very interesting because you said witty and somebody said fun. He said 5 things. Number 1, street smart. Okay, I think, you teach concepts. I think concepts are important, theories are important. I never believed some guy, practicing guy, and says, I'm saying in the video itself, he said, no, we don't want concept, make him job ready, you should be employable. I think it's employable doesn't mean you don't have to have a, knowledge. Without knowledge, you can't convert, you have to convert knowledge into skill. That is the perspective I come from, street smart. Number 2, first I said organizationally, street smart. Number 2, sense of humor. He said, people asked, this guy is a French guy, what is he talking about sense of humor? Businessman, what sense of humor you can develop? How is it possible? We didn't realize till we had this COVID. And everybody was glued to their laptops or video calls. I mean, you get jaded. I think, sense of humor, how important. Sense of humor doesn't mean that you are not serious about business or your teaching or anything. I mean, you need to have that sort of fun, which that fellow said it in 88. And we questioned, we asked some professors, teachers, everybody has given different interpretations, management thinkers, but ultimately what it proved, sense of humor. Third one, care for people. How relevant it is in today's context, I am talking about 88, 89. Okay, next, sound judgment. Last one, he said, high levels of energy. This is what I'm coming. You see, when you're talking about IQ and EQ, all that, you may be a brilliant guy. You may be a Nobel laureate. I mean, GSK principle was one thing. What we wanted, team players, not Nobel laureates. Nobel laureates is gum, as long as a team player, fine. But we look for team players. What is it means? I think this has been said, cash, knowledge, attitude, skills, and habits. Habits. I think, we never given focus on habits. It's been part of the attitude. That was a challenge, Dr. Atreya said in 78, in GSK, habits are very important. When I started as a management trainee of DCM, 1971, I had to go and punch every day, except the general manager. Everybody needs to punch. You need to be 2 minutes or 3 minutes allowed. After that, you are allowed to go inside, but you will be adjusted half a day leave. I think, this is what it is in the question of habits, how play an important role. See, why I'm saying is, some of them we may not realize it. When you start debating and thinking about it, you realize how important. There are some early risers, there are some late risers. One of my friends, if I have to go with him to the airport, I never go with him because I may miss my flight. That fellow is always a late comer. See, so my managing director, who is a Britisher, he always goes very early. He will ring up and say, Dwarka, you guys don't take this route. It's traffic jam. Because he said, why you go as a managing director 2 hours before? I said, worry in comfort. You understand? Worry in comfort. So I think, what is important is there are many things which go beyond the books. And this is, whether you go to Harvard, whether you go to IIM Ahmedabad, you may not read the books. That is where sometimes I would urge, being in the academia world for so many years, you have to give those sort of perspectives, share with the people, apart from the concept. As far as the concept is concerned, I have no doubts if any practicing managers give me ready-made material, I think he is doing a mistake. He has not understood. What you need to prepare them sound and concepts, how to translate those concepts into actions is the job of the industry or the business. I have to give you one example. Is it sensing to you? Is it relevant? I think you said management trainee 1971, 20 All India batch. We used to get 950 rupees allowance. If you are posted in Calcutta, 100 rupees for ballroom dancing. I come from middle class family. But I'm just saying how to eat with a spoon, fork and all that. This is great. One thing I learned, third day in Delhi, my boss called us. He said, next year batch, we have to prepare. This is the ad. We got 1,000 applications. 4 of us were there, split 250. I wanted 50 from each. And evening 4:30, we thought, cannot place, mein aaj movies dekhenge. We were all young, but he said, give the job. So he gave me the criteria. We've gone through the whole night. Next day morning, we kept it on his table, 50 each. He said, okay. Then he looked at us. Where are the other CVs? Okay. We dumped it in there. Go and get them and leave it here. He left it. So he gone through it. Then it goes second round, third round, goes to the final round to the chairman with the board of directors. It's all like an IAS. After that, when out of 20, whom we have eliminated, 4 guys were selected finally. So what is one lesson I have learned? I think the application bit I'm saying, which is equally applicable to all of us, either you are in faculty or in, is we used to do GSK, we used to go to the campuses. I used to have a team, used to look after. I used to do the same thing. They used to come and give it to me. And then I said, give those applications. He said, I have not gone for final. It is not that, please bear with me. I have not cooked it up anything. Okay, Jaan Puch ke, I will pick these guys whom they will eliminate. It goes to different rounds. Finally, I may not be there, someone else be there. But always 1 or 2 will be there. So what is one lesson? Small things sometimes you neglect that can have a great impact on tomorrow on the business stations. This is on people investment. You see, getting the right kind of people. So, that is one aspect of it which is amazing. Second thing I just want to say, because this is important. We say today communication, there's All India Management Association created a task force in 2000 after education policy was done. Pramath Sinha was a great guy, Rajan Saxena, all that, formed a task committee. One of the things they said, communication is very important. It's not just English, communication is important for all especially for management graduates. What I'm trying to say is, then from Delhi I was posted to Calcutta. I am a South Indian. First time I'm going to Calcutta. That time Calcutta was on fire. Naxalite and labor relations. Every day we used to sit in a corporate office. Every day from factory, about 11:30, their lunch times are different. A thali leke, 5 log aayega. I was sitting in the outside. My boss used to sit inside. He is a Marwari gentleman, but brought up in Calcutta, understands Bengali exceedingly well. Then I saw first day, second day. Then third day, he said, Dwarka, you come and sit here. Don't talk anything. Just shadow me. So I shadowed. 3 din, 4 din ho gaya. Next week, he called me. Said, what did you notice? Sir, they come and shout in Bengali. You can speak Bengali very well, but you speak in Hindi. Okay? So you should give it back to them. I was young, management graduate. He said, listen to me. I am not questioning you. Okay, I heard you. Firstly, when a mob is in a fury, never retaliate. Number 1. Number 2, please understand, 50% of these union leaders are faking. Just to impress others, they are doing it. 2 questions. Third one, when somebody is in a furious way trying to say something to you, if you want, you have to reduce their speed. You speak in the language which they are not very fluent. The flow will fall. Because the spirit, if anybody is Bengali, it's kya baat hai bhai, ye dekh lo. Then you will not be able to respond. Bengalis at that level are not very proficient in Hindi. So the flow will come down. Then when I call few people later and speak to them in Bengali, when you want to touch their hearts, you need to speak to the language which they can understand well. When they are in a furious mode, you have to do. What is the principle? I was the employee relations manager of GSK. I used to go to Punjab near Patiala, Naba plant, huge plant, and very tall, hefty Sardarjis. I'm a South Indian. I'm the national employee relations manager. Final negotiations are that I go. I used to come. Sir, they are very furious. So they say, they'll speak in Punjabi, I'll speak in English. Okay, there is only one fellow who is from Goa, settled in, he can speak in English. So the whole flow comes down. They'll come to, in a span of some time you get. So I think, there is something beyond management, beyond teachings, which everyone should understand. This is not applicable only to corporate. Same principles, perspectives apply to one and all, universally, whether you agree or not. So you see, these are small things which is beyond your books, beyond your profiles, beyond your things. But that is what the whole management is, both art and a science. I think, if you don't have the art and science, I said, Dr. Ramcharan addressed you. One of the things, he was our mentor. Dr. Ramcharan said one thing: the most challenging, critical things even today, post-COVID, apart from communication, managing intersections, navigation skills, especially I see, don't get me wrong, there are a lot of things which industry has to do. There's no point in saying you are not making industry ready. But there are certain aspects you also need to understand. I'm seeing both from balance. I'm more in academia now. That one of the things we should know is we act in silos. If we act in silos, it can never work. One of the challenges I see it. I thought I faced many challenges, mergers and acquisitions. I survived 4 mergers. I have done many Garavos. First Garavos happened in India, in our company, J Engineering, part of DCM. But sometimes I find it difficult to manage 2 functions, psychology versus some other things. They're all behavioral scientists. They teach how to behave, but they fight among themselves. So I think, these are the couple of things I'm just giving thoughts. If it's not applicable, you should not worry about it. But it is the reality of life which I'm talking to you. I don't know whether it resonates with you. You can speak and be honest. But, this is the problem. 2 professions I find is very A-squared syndrome approach. Age and authority matters a lot. Maybe something I'm missing. One is I used to do as an advisor to Max Group, managing doctors, clinicians. It is there, everybody has their silos. And they said, why should I do performance appraisal? My guys, I'm here to do only surgery. So I will come back on this. I'm putting in a sequence without flowing it. Other thing is, I said, in the profession of academia. So, it's not that anywhere that. So I think it's important, if you want to really drive, if you want to be a role model, tone at the top. Right from dean, a director, or a VC, a tone at the top is important. If tone at the top is not there, I don't think you can bring the sort of changes we want to bring. Adapt and adapt will not happen. Forget about technology and all that. We'll come back on this. But I think, this is the sense I get. So what is it means? My experience all my life initially was from practice. I started reading theory now. Okay, when I try to correlate with the theory, I find there are a lot of gaps which I used to see have been bridged. What knowledge gives it gives you that knowledge, how to drive a car, right? But the skill is, you have to drive. That is where what and how, why and how, these are the aspects which we need to say. This is where I sit. You have to give them some perspectives which gives them feel everything is not honky-dory. Don't think when you go to corporate, you're sitting in a nice AC rooms and start working. And secondly, you have to be realistic in your dreams, if I can say. But at the same time, there is many things by virtue of what you impart as a concept or a theory can be translated into practice, which acquires the skill, provided you make efforts. I just want to tell you one example. Marketing is very popular, FMCG. Everybody wants to get into corporate office, do brand management. Unless you know the pulse of the people, go to the market, what are your products, who are your consumers, who are your customers, what is the competitors are doing, what sort of promotions they are doing, how our sales force are motivated or not. If you don't go to factory, every HR guy says, I want to do strategy, I want to write policies. I think strategy and policy you can write first, understand the business, understand the culture, understand the people. Then only you can do it. Am I right? So I think, this is where I think beyond the books, some of the things as a faculty, whatever levels you are, you need to drive this. Everything is honky-dory. Not honky-dory. I mean, this is not what they think. It is maybe internship should help them. Some of the things help. When I come to the interviews, I mean, it doesn't follow. I have done many mistakes in life. In a corporate, we have done a mistake. I'll very frank in admitting it. My marketing guy was an IIM. So I was going for an advanced management program for IIM Ahmedabad. We were advertising at that time for the management trainees for marketing. I said, I just followed. He said, candidates with engineering background are preferred. IIM Ahmedabad at that time was 50-50. And when I went there for program, they know the HR guy has come. They've all garroted me, saying, why should I be engineer for selling Horlicks a Boost? Because my guy who is a marketing director, he is for engineer and IIM. So I think, these are some of the things we have done mistakes. I think this is the perspectives, which we should be aware, but we done it. Ultimately, I changed it immediately. Next one, I'm very honest with you and candid in saying, these guys he didn't want to take anybody for marketing other than IIM. At that time, it is ARC. So to break the barriers, when I said it's not only your scholars as a faculty, there are a number of barriers. We have false assumptions, which we need. It took me 2 years to get out of it, to get into other institutes. So I think, these are the aspects, which very practical, but sometimes we didn't give much thought to it and do it. The third thing is a blunder is committed by me. I don't blame this IIM guys. I went to Excel. I've advertised. We want to take a management trainees, but basically they are in the plants. So I said, if I done it now, I would have been in trouble. I said, male candidates need to apply because Factories Act, you can't be on right. There were 25 girls who virtually garroted me. And they said, how can do it? He said, yeah, factories you can't, but why we can try, there are many ways. I think they started. I said, fine, I will do interviews for you also. Can you believe I've taken 3 candidates? From there, total 5, but 3 ladies, 2 from Excel. I've sent, we are willing to go factories. We created restrooms and all that because they so went there. There was a garrote, okay? Management staff were garroted in the evening. So in the evening, the union leaders came and told these 2 ladies, बहन जी ये गरावो आपके लागू नहीं होता, आप जा सकता है. You know what these 2 girls have said? They are young girls. First time, हम नहीं जाएंगे. हम कब जाएंगे तो उसके साथ हमारा colleagues के साथ जाएंगे. So this is a really a eye opener to us. Am I making sense? I think this is what breaking the barriers. It is not only from your perspective, from the management perspective, which we have to do it. Everything what you said in a concept may not hold good unless we work together. But there are many gaps. It is not the blame alone. It's not fair to say of the academia. A lot of things to do with the managements also, because we tried as a national president of HRD network, ITC, HOL, JSK, and we said we'll give 2-year stint for the scholars to come and do with us, and we will send 2 years, our guys, their salaries are protected. Whatever the salaries they're getting, they will be protected. Firstly, you'll be surprised, of course. GSK and all, we've agreed, so we are willing to give. But I don't want to name the institute. The dean and the director of that institute did not allow, because this is the regulation, this is what AICT says, this is what you says, you don't have a PhD, you can't take a full course, you have to take. See, made the things worse. And similarly, our guys also, saying, oh, they are theory but not practice, they don't have experience, all that. So it never resolved, but there is a way of doing it. Some of them immersion programs, we are involved in it. But that is not enough. I think, one of the things I feel it, which I have been a party to it, I benefited, I have done many half courses where we can say, for example, you can talk about mergers and acquisitions. You can talk about employee relations. You can talk about brand management. But there are some areas where people who have the practical experience will be able to do it. How do you do a merger of integration of people and culture? Maybe they have done it. You can give the theory, but how you have implemented it can be done. Similarly, in case of brand management or in case of strikes, how do you handle a strike? Unless it doesn't mean that if you not handle strike, you can't teach them. But that inputs from a person who has experienced this will be valuable. So some of those synergies, symbiotic relationships can be tried and altered, but still it's a long way to go. But the best way to now do it, because of the national education policy, where it's a skill-based education. This is my perspective I want to raise, and I want to have your reactions to it. One of the things is very important is that unless we come together and do it, alone one person or the industry cannot do it, nor the academia could do it. You need to bring it together. But I think it may be a professor in practice and all that will help to do it, but it's a long way. I just want to give a pause to it. So these are the breaking the barriers. There are, but is more, it's created. But if you go to US and all that, Henry Kissinger, he was the Secretary of Affairs, he used to teach Harvard. They used to come from there, many guys. Vice President of US has gone and was teaching on the environmental goal. So it can happen. But I think it's a mindset change. It's a mindset, which creates a problem. So coming back on what do you want to say? I would say ability to manage from Mali to Malik. Whoever has got ability, whether you are a dean or a director or a VC or a professor, or you are a management trainee or a chairman of a company, I personally believe managing intersections is very easy to say, but difficult to implement unless you have the ability to manage Mali to Malik. No, thank you. Mali to Malik. My concept is, sir, I'm trying to make this as a concept and trying to write something. I don't have that sort of skills. Actually, I was looking for a research scholar to help me to put in my thoughts. The basic idea is whoever you are, whether you are a vice chancellor or you're a owner or you are a chairman of a company, your ability to deal from the watchman or the gardener to the chairman of the company, that is where your real skills come into play. This cannot be, you can give the foundation, you can talk about concepts, but if you do with a storytelling, then it makes very clear. Otherwise, now we are using so many jargons. Other day, some young lady rang up, I'm CII, we are doing in the quiet quitting. I wanted to be in the panel 9 months back. Madam, I have been in this profession, I have not understood quiet quitting. No, this is a new concept of social media, quiet quitting. Quick quitting, quiet quitting, about moonlighting is already wrote, great resignation. These are the jargons have come up quite fast, because of the social media. You have to understand from my side, I started my career 26 years before we saw the mobile phone. So adopt to this at a later stage of life after spending 26, 27 years, internet or mobile phones, it's a challenge. But you have to cope up with the challenge. Am I right in saying it? I think, you see, this is where GSK has taught me the other concept, priest. P-R-E-E-S-T. Wherever you are, whether you are in the teaching profession, whether you are in the administration, whether you are in the business or industry, priest is outside in view approach. P stands for political impact. For instance, Ukraine war is a political impact which has rocked the whole world. Am I right in saying? Or regulatory. You see, there was a Supreme Court judgment which said that you can't have a bar or a liquor shop is 3 kilometers from the highway. You see, this has created a lot of impact we don't understand on number of businesses and people. Ultimately, the impact is business, which relates to people. Okay, we have done some jugaad. You know what some people have done? Okay, we created a very same, it's a crowd distance, but you turn it around and come back. But we are experts in jugaad, that's a different matter. But priest, regulatory. E, economic. Demonetization. I mean, I'm saying now we are talking about 2,000 notes, it's economic. Okay. Earlier it was pressed, then I've added another E, to be honest with you, environment. What COVID, then social, yes. Social awareness, especially on said food items, what Sunita Rajan and many others have done. Even Maggie was also taken to a different levels. You can call regulatory, but social. Last is technology, but I'm not in the sequence, but priest. What Sony did to Kodak, Apple did to Sony. Right? I said, I'm just taking off from the leaf. I would urge, if you've not read this book, please read Deep Purpose. Deep Purpose with Heart and Soul by Rajan Gulati. He is a Harvard professor in strategic management. What he said was, I just want to, ma'am, you are a marketing also. Anyone else marketing here? But good. I said even others also, thanks. Who is pioneered retailing? Reebok. I think one of the, okay. Who pioneered photography? Kodak. Who pioneered mobile phones? No, Motorola. Who pioneered smartphones? Nokia. Then Samsung came. Where are they in terms of the leading positions? I think, where are they in the leading positions? You see, this is where you should read the deep purpose. I'm going in a schematic things with the flow. You see what he talked about, Nadella. I said the other day we talked, Nadella. Nadella has written a book, I'm not worried, hit refresh. But one concept, who is Nadella, we all know, right? You see, Microsoft has become too big. The previous speaker talked about humility, all that, before I come to the purpose. You see, Microsoft has become very arrogant. Because if you see the top 10 globally market cap companies, there is only one Saudi Arabia oil mill somewhere in 4. Otherwise, most of them are related to tech, Apple, Microsoft, Facebook, whatever, Amazon, and so on. So Nadella took over, Bill Gates gone, he took from Steve Ballmer. He said something wrong with the organization. Then he diagnosed, people have become arrogant. So what is it I'm trying to do? They've gone into it, we know it all. We know it all. So he said, I want to change the paradigm shift from know-it-all, it is to learn it all. Learning is a continuous process. Whether you are a PhD, double PhD, you have published 100 papers, that is past. You should feel fine. But learning, lifelong learning, relearning, upskilling, and now the World Economic Forum reports also says in next 5 years, by 2030, 60% of jobs are gone. So it's important that humility is important. There's a great book by Good to Great, Jim Collins. He talked about 2 traits, what I call level 1, level 2, level 3, level 5 leadership. He said when he put 15, I used to do a program in overseas also, I used to put 15 names. Can you identify? Can you believe hardly one person could be identified? All those 15 leaders he identified based on very active research. You see, what does it mean? Bill Gates was not there. Jack Welch was not there. Steve Jobs was not there. No charismatic leaders have done. Why? They have 2 traits he talked about. Professional will to do well, which they have all done. But personal humility. They lack personal humility. They were all arrogant, if I can use the word strongly. They didn't figure. The guys who figured, they are not charismatic leaders. Sometimes we get carried away that a guy is charismatic. You see, the greatest example of my era, because you are all from different era, I will reveal my age at the end. Okay. See, Amitabh Bachchan was anti-hero. And Amitabh Bachchan was rejected by BBC. His voice is not voice. You see, so I'm just saying this reminds me management trainee selections. You understand? You sieve it out. You can see relate to it. So I'm just trying to bring a construct to it in a thematic fashion, because you are all professors and deans, so I need to be careful in my flow. So the deep purpose, it is no longer, this is what is being talked about in Nadella. Nadella said something, let us go and see the purpose. Somebody said, what is this? We are doing so well. You are doing well today, you may lose tomorrow. This is exactly what happened to GE today, Jack Welch. I mean, great company. Is not great. It was happening to IBM. There is a guy who took over, Louis Gassner. That fellow turned it on table, same problem. Everyone, tie, jacket, suit, we know it all, we are the leaders. When you are leaders, is all good. Somebody was telling earlier, when you are not there, nobody will look at you. Right? So he said he's written a book, Who Says Elephants Can't Dance? I mean, because you were saying yesterday, but we don't find the elephant, we ignore the elephant. That's the problem. So coming back on this, Nadella said, let us revisit the purpose. I think the purpose, when you're saying, when you're teaching or when you're talking, purpose is very important. I used to talk, it's very theoretical. Why we exist? Why do? You see, for example, GSK, the purpose has been defined very clearly. Our global quest is to improve the quality of human life by making people happy, healthier, and live longer. So the quality of human life, our global quest is to improve the quality of human life. You can make all those statements, but you have to see the actions. What did GSK did, or the SmithKline Beecham did? Have you heard about Yardley talcum powder? Yardley talcum powder, Brill cream. These are all GSK brands, SP brands. And they sold the businesses. Everybody was jumping at them. You are mad. This is cash cows. He said, no, what is the purpose after the mergers? Purpose is our global quest to improve the quality of human life. Okay? We cannot scientifically prove that can add value to human life. So we don't want to be in the business. There was a hook. So I think, somebody may say we want to be in any business like ITC. I mean, you see, so it's a different purpose. We can't, as long as it's not immoral, whether ethical or not, it's a different matter. So the purpose drives it. So Nadella also said, what is a purpose? Why we exist? Then the vision. So when you're talking about it, you need to have a clarity. If you read that book, it's an outstanding book. It has given me a lot of clarity. You know many things, but you don't know, put it in a systemic manner. Why we are doing it. How we are doing it, you know, but why we are doing it, you don't know. What is vision? What is strategy? What is purpose? Has been very clearly, you know, been sorted out. I think we need to have a clarity in our mind and then apply to, these are the examples. There's nothing wrong. Some people ask me, sir, I don't want to join a liquor company. That's your personal belief. But liquor company itself is not illegal. It's not banned, you see. So I think, you know, this is what perhaps some sort of education and training may help. Then when you come to a company like, you know, Visit, if any company says you should be on the job tomorrow, I got my doubts, because they need to undergo intense training 12 to 18 months before you really get into the job. This is what I call, in GSK we used to say, neutral zone. Neutral zone, we used to do off-site for few weeks. It is called neutral zone, we coined it, campus to corporate. Neutral zone means when you're driving, there is always, nowadays everything is automatic. But if you're driving, you drive different gears, you come to neutral gear. But once you start driving it, you will not realize. When you're learning, you say you go to neutral. So from campus, you are in neutral gear. You have to go into the corporate now. So that's how, you know, we created. You know, I just don't want to take one thing. I can take credit and my team as well. Many people, when we started this program, I said, HR, for example, take the bag, go with the salesperson. Visit urban, semi-urban, wherever you have markets. And during that time, you will be having the same entitlement as a salesperson is, because you will understand what their problem is. Tomorrow they said our allowance is not enough, hotels are not good. You know, and some of the girls used to come back and said, see my fingers. You got, you know, it's so, I feel so satisfied. Some of the girls, boys, they are in Microsoft US headquarters, some pharma companies, global HR heads or US HR heads. They keep writing, saying, you know, that training of 18 months, factory sales officers, we cursed at that time. What this fellow is making tough. But he said, it gave me a very good perspective about the business. I think you need to understand culture, people, and business. If you understand the culture, of course, then I would also say understand your spouse. Without that, you know, somebody is asking, without the balancing fact, you can't do it. Whenever you said you have to give me. So, am I making sense to you? I think, you know, it's important because I said sometimes even in your profession, you think you are the cat's whisker, sorry to say it. You are doing everything for your family. I think I'm just coming to the other side. But you are doing for yourself most of the time. But you may give all those excuses, if I can say, most of the time. I will tell you very candidly, GSK, we had a 7-member management team. We said managing 3 were foreigners, 4 are Indians. Okay, I told the managing director, said, let us do an off-site. Culture, company has changed, name has changed, merger, new team, all that. So we went to Goa with wives. And I took I don't know where she is now, Kushid Merchant, very famous behavioral scientist and a trainer. She is a Parsi, got a sense of humor she can get. She is much elder to me even at the time. I was talking about in 90s. He said, we started the 360. I said, 360 we start. Why I'm saying is very easy to start. You can teach 360. Difficult to implement it. I think those are the things you have to also teach at that time. But yeah, it's nice to say it, but when you implement, you will understand what the problem. So my UK guys were saying, please implement. I said, it will fail. I am telling you, you do it. I said, first let me experiment. Okay, it failed when we went to because she reports to me. She feels if she gives something, she may say it's very confidential, but may go, my boss will ruin my career. I mean, you see, we have to be practical. It's not so easy unless you create that sort of a culture where the transparency and confidentiality are maintained and is given with a purpose, not to personally humiliate you or to make you feel bad, and with not any motive. So we went to Goa, and so we didn't tell the wives. They said offsite they came. They said we want to do a team building exercise. I said, being HR director, I said you can be there. I think I had the confidence of all the ladies, and this lady was there. So we said, while talking, we said, let us hear how you're enjoying work-life balance at home, how your husband and all that. First, Indian wives are very careful because husband go kya hoga hum kuch bhi bol diya ye. But to start with, the Brits and other expats opened up. Oh, no time, no. After that, they went to up to 30%. After that, our Indian house went full blast, including my wife. I said, you have active listening to others, but you don't listen to us. You mentor other children, but you don't have a time to your children. Where all that has gone. So what is it means? If you want to succeed, we sometimes ignore our key stakeholders. Forget about external stakeholders. They are important. But your own internal stakeholders. That is what happened in COVID time. People have gone into this, and so am I making sense to you? So it resonates. I think these are the things, whether it's beyond your pedagogy, whether it's part of your pedagogy, some incidents of storytelling will create that impact. Otherwise, compassion, I'm hearing mindfulness, compassion, all that is happening. But how much we have understood compassion and passion and gratitude and fortitude, all this, it's a nice words. I mean, psychology people can explain. But if you tell this with some anecdotes or experiences, which will be understood better. Am I making sense? Any comments? Can I give a pause? So, this is a learning for me when 360 degree feedback will not end with only your business stakeholders. If you want to really, you may do it informally. I mean, I'm just saying, but you need to, and I tell you what, I don't know what your experience is, I'm sharing. You get a very good feedback from your wife, not only about you, but someone else. They have a sixth sense, I don't know. My wife used to say, you have been too close to this guy, be careful, because you have a lot of sensitive information. Not that you will share it by mistake, you may do it. But I think, we need to, I think this is, and secondly, they can also figure out something wrong is working on your mind today. You understand? You get me? I agree with you. So this is all what we are talking about, sharing our experience and perspective. If there is anything, just reflect on it. You will see it resonate somewhere in some other form or other happens. So if you have this cash or Mali to Malik, managing the intersections, one of the things which I want to say is, I think one prepared to is art of tough love. Tough love. Tough love. You see, tough love. Tough on issues, TOUGH, tough love. Love. You see, this is coined by my boss, who is a Brit. He said tough love, then I have seen somewhere out of tough love, I made it. Be tough on issues, but soft on people. I mean, if you're seeing a merger and acquisition, I'm just taking this as an example. Leave aside now what is happening in the IT industry. You see Google, you name the company. Mergers and acquisitions. I said my company's name has changed 4-5 times. You said when Beecham and SmithKline was merging, there were 2 companies in SmithKline, 2 companies in Beecham. Okay, so they're merging, they wanted only one head. So 4 HR directors are competing, 3 will be out, 3 CFOs will go, 3, everyone will go. You see, similarly, when, if somebody is familiar with Bombay, Mumbai's, Worli, there was a Glaxo office, used to be a big plant there. You can't operate that plant in the night because of the residential zone, so we have to close it, and merger also helped. I think, when you are doing all this, nobody will be happy that somebody is told that because of merger, because of COVID, or whatever or now what is going through great mass resignations and layoffs, nobody will be happy. But the way you handle at that time, it's more important. Whether you care, you've been sensitive to the feelings. Sensitive to the feelings is a very important aspect when we are teaching, when you are practicing. What does it mean? I think, I tell you one thing. This is a case, very senior guy in a factory. He has outlived utility, put it, because he was not able to adapt to the new system of working, but he has been very, very committed guy, solid citizen. So we have to take him. So you see, ultimately, if you're HR guy, it will come to you. So the manufacturing guy was there, foreigner, I was sitting with them. He said, I'll deal with this. So this fellow came. I said, we respect you. You have done so many years. Thank you very much. We will also take care. We have been gracious. You have few more years service, but we'll take care and all. So 3 months notice. After that, you said, sir, I have only one request. I understand the reasons. I am not getting it. You've been fair. You've been treated me well. I mean, if you get to look, I mean, the way we see it, next day your email is removed, your card is removed. I mean, you see, that's rubbish, if you ask me in any, even if you have to do it properly, with grace. I think, he said, I have only one request. He said, I need, you adjust from compensation. I'm not asking, but give me few more months. He said, I said, any specific reason? Yes. This is a small town. I am the site head, and my daughter is getting married in next 3 months. If at that time, if I am not in the job, this is a social stigma. Okay? So British are my sitting, but he knows that I'm in. He looked at me and said, but I know rules, policies. I told him, Chris, let us break all the rules. You see, as long as you justify it, I think you need to, what I'm saying is, I'm not saying breach the rules. I mean, literally, this is where the balance, and you talked about the maturity and the experiences, you need to bring it. I mean, when I said maturity, experience, you need not be 50, 60 years old. You can be 30 years old, but level-headed, and you be empathy. Empathy, this is what the empathy is. You understand? This is what empathy is, or compassion, whatever you say. But I think, that demonstrates. I said, I looked at him, we'll manage. I said, fine, the rule says it, but we'll ensure to happen. Please go ahead. This fellow talked about this as a great favor done to them. Whole life, when we used to go shareholders, he used to say how this company has treated me. I think, I am not saying you be benevolent, philanthropic, break away all the rules, make the company liable. But there are certain judgment calls we need to take, which no book can give you. I think, you learn from experiences and then you need to move on. So this is where ultimately, when you put a concept, and to theory, I think it's important. I've learned one thing. Similarly, in the factory situations where we see what is the profile of them. The profile is there are 50, 52, they have worked for 25 years, they can't get a job anywhere. He said, what is the two important aspects? Their health and education. We said till your retirement, your medical is covered. For some people, children are, we will take care of the children. So I think, that is what the organization has to do sometimes to bring a win-win situation and to create that culture of inclusivity, empathy, and so on. So that's what I'm saying. In a lighter vein, I think you should not get bored with my talk. You see, being in HR, there is one concept earlier, what do? You said, one fellow went to the church every day, used to go to church. So one day he asked the priest, priest, what do? Tell me in one sentence. HR has got this elevator message. Or tell me. He said, son, I perform, hatch, match, and dispatch. Okay. Can you please explain what you're a HR guy? Yeah. You said, when a young couple bring a child, I bless him, that is hatching. When two people want to get married, I administer their marriage, that is matching. When somebody dies, I do the last resort, it is dispatch. And when I said it some other forum, one of the young student in MBA class, is a huge gathering. He said, sir, I want to add one more. Please do. She said, patch. In between patch. You see, but we have moved away from there now. When you have, that used to apply hatch, match, dispatch is nothing. Hiring is developing, nurturing, mentoring, matching and dispatching, managing exits, layoffs, retirements, and so on. But we have gone beyond that, which changed it in what acronym I call 4 Ws. Have you got it? After COVID, during COVID, we started talking about WWWW, 4 Ws. What does it 4 Ws talk about? You talk about future of work, workplace, kind of work. Last is well-being. We used to do certain things, well-being. Well-being is also become the part of it. 4 Ws is important. When you're talking about future of work, what today we are talking about? Supply chain management. Vendor development earlier, he was talking about business development, analytics. I mean, you see, there are so many areas. Sustainability is one, it's become it's requisitive. It is not something nice to have. Is there anything which so I think, we moved away from that. I think this is where I think the shift is happening in terms of how do you convert the knowledge into skill. What we have in GSK is a term, sorry I'm giving you a jargon, but I hate to give, hardwiring the soft stuff. Hardwiring the soft stuff. Hardwiring is strategies, systems, processes. Soft stuff is the values we're talking about, integrity, empathy, people, all the hardwiring the soft stuff. What you do is a concept you give, but we have to convert that concept into practice. Hardwiring the soft stuff. You see, so when you're bringing a change, there are 5 key requisites. There is a famous book of merger of SmithKline Beecham, Promise to Performance. This was written by the then managing director, Robert Bauman from Harvard, and Peter Jackson was the HR director and the communication director. They have written. So I'm not getting into details, but 5 things because we change. Coping up with change is a leadership. What are the 5 key requisites from their perspective? They said, number 1, organization as hero. You see, if it's okay with you, after that you note down. I will send you some script to you, you can circulate it. Organization as hero, that means it is organization which is important. It's your institute which is important. You play an important role, but you are not the hero. Jack Welch is not the hero of GE. GE is the hero. Some people thought that they are the heroes. For example, the Tata Steel. Rusi Modi has done quite a lot of work, but ultimately he thought he was above Tata Steel, but it didn't happen. Organized. Second, winning attitude. I think, if you, I said key two leadership traits, you see, professional will to do well and personal humility, winning attitude. Number 3, team learning and sharing. You see, coming from a pharma company, a drug discovery will be handled by 10,000 people at different level, phase 1, phase 2, stakeholders, many patients, all that. But ultimately, one fellow will get Nobel Prize. But it doesn't mean that others. That's why GSK, pharma, most teamwork has become very important. Collaborative spirit, teamwork, because we don't want Nobel laureates, but we want team players. So, team learning and sharing. For example, India, if you take sports, India most of the time we win medals. Now we have started winning Commonwealth, Asian Games, even Olympics, or mostly on individuals, fencing, boxing, at the most doubles, badminton, chess, all most of the matches, shooting, we all go single. We don't, even more than 2 players except hockey once in a while, many years ago, and cricket sometimes, we do it. But we lack the team. Chak De Hindi film has shown that collaborative spirit. Now that has emerged as an important aspect. Communication, managing intersection, managing complicity, traversing to uncharted paths, which COVID has taught. And of course, digitally savvy and digital, all this is important technology. But self-learning skills, self-management skills are very important now, apart from adopting technology and development, apart from communications, what I said. What do you mean the self-management? Personal resilience. And how do you cope up with because some people have suffered from loneliness sitting at home and doing on remote, and they were craving to come back and work with people, because we are all social animals, ultimately. So there are a lot of changes have happened, partly due to priest, partly due to technology. Technology also comes in peace. So you as a scholars, you have to break those barriers and think little bit differently. The same pedagogy, how you can make it more palatable, ensure your teams deliver it in a slightly different way, not doing the same way what you have been doing for 10 years or 12 years when you have done your research or publications. Much water has flown under the bridge. I think, that's a very important aspect. It is not that, you see, this forum which they have organized is only to think about it and take the thoughts. We are not looking immediate solutions. Everybody said World Economic problem solving, critical thinking. I'm saying about critical thinking. I was talking to, before I come, I was talking to some of the professors and deans and all that. Tell me, what is the one challenge? He said Chat GPT is disruptive. He said, how do we handle? You give any assignment, you get Chat GPT. She said, 2 distinguished professors were saying, she has just taken the test and seen 97% are just copied. They have not made even effort to edit them. Just given it. I said, I'm not going to give. So how you are going to handle them? Please tell me.
I would like to give an assignment based on ChatGPT itself. Take this, use ChatGPT or any OpenAI, get the content and analyze the content.
Yes, well said. And some of them, she said, similar effect but slightly different mode, saying, I will ask them to take a video, I will give a video, ask them and come and debate and present here, talk here, and then they, you see, when you are a set PPT, you will go on that. But when you ask questions, the ability of a speaker comes in when you ask a question, you are able to answer because you have one flow. But suddenly, extempore is different. So I think, it's very important. You need to think, some of the advantages you have, but there are certain things which are becoming, they're mechanical to the extent. You see, even spellings also, from my generation, it was very important. Now you can correct all these spellings. It's okay. I can live with this. You see, I went to US a couple of years back. my grandson was with me. Okay, so I had to make a presentation in a big world conference. So I was staying with my daughter. My grandson at that time was 13 years old. So he said, I was doing my PPT, finally. He said, he was also coming with me on a trip, my grandson, granddaughter, and my wife. So he said, he got interested. He said, Grandpa, can I have a look at your PPT? I said, please. But you are a big man, you know, I'm a small. Well, no, you have a look. If I have look at it, if I have any comments, can I give? Of course, son, you can do it. So he has seen it. Then she looked at it and said, who are your targeted audience? This guy is asking me. Bola, he said, some CXOs, CEOs, most HR guys. He said, who are they? Americans, Indians, or whatever? He said, Americans. This will not fly. Okay, he said, why? I don't think you should put this. I don't think. You know what I did? You'll be surprised. Said, do whatever changes you want to do. Do whatever changes you want to do, I will take it. So what is a learning for me? I'm just saying, since 96 to be more precise, I have learned a lot, learning agility from learn it all to know it all. He said, I learned it from my mentees and people who worked with me rather than more from my superiors or my peers or my teachers or my parents and so on. So I think it's important, you as the deans or directors or principals or whatever it is, sometimes please give a hearing, active listening, active listening, communication, active listening part of it. I think you need to give. Do not get into A-squared syndrome. I think it happens in corporate, it happens in academia, it happens in, especially apart from the army and bureaucracy, medical profession and teaching profession is much more revered, respected for your seniority. I'm not saying you should not respect the seniority, but I think you should listen to them. They can add value to it. And similarly, I think it's not only just saying it, but I think you need to practice it. But they also need to be careful. One of the things I said, the young batch of 97 batch, we were doing a big HR conference. We were trying to bring some behavioral event interviews for the job evaluation and all that. So after that, everybody, very senior people there. After that, one girl said, sir, I don't agree with you. Okay, she has just joined about 2 or 3 months back. So everybody looked at her. I said, I've heard her. I said, fine. We talked, and then everybody said to her, your job has gone. How dare you to say to him? You see, the point is, I called her later. I said, absolutely fine, you raise a point. I've explained her where I can agree, where I don't agree. I've said we agree. Nothing will happen to you, take it. Anyway, she is the CHRO of a very big multinational company today and keep joking about it. So what it means is, but I told her one thing, it worked with me well at 97 I'm talking. It may not be taken well by someone else. Because in that matters, don't raise because you have talk on a one-to-one or in a smaller group where it is more acceptable to him. Don't get into ego. When you touch the ego, some people react positively, some people would not react positively and go. It happened to me. I was a young HR manager. My boss said, this guy has been referred by so-and-so, who is the sales director, very powerful guy, he was my mentor. Have a look at this guy. So I looked at him. He's very good profession, but we had to send it to rural market. This fellow cannot do rural market. He is a Stephanian, jacket, tie, Delhiwala and all that stuff. I said, it will not fit in. He will not. So he said, write to him. So I wrote to sales director. Sales director was furious with me. He said, my boss just backed off. You see, sales director said, how dare you to say, what is your age? I said, sir, 32. He said, my experience is 35. Do you know more about sales? I know about it. Sir, whatever you do. Said, I've done. And that fellow resigned within 3 or 4 months because he couldn't do rural market. I have to say with great respect, this gentleman walked into my room, sales director, he was a deputy managing director. He said, Dwarka, you are right, I am wrong. I said, sir, there is nothing like right or wrong. But he had the humility, having shown that arrogance to it. So I think organizational savvy, street smart is important. Because you are empowered, students, one thing message is when you are empowered, don't keep misusing it or try to show off. There are people, want to show off to others, in the play to the galleries. That should not be there. Savvy means use it at the right time, at the right place with a purpose. Similarly, that's what the street smart, I think that is the most important thing if you ask me. You understand the organization, understand the education institute, culture, the tie, how you deal with one professor, you may have to deal with it differently. That is the art of dealing with this. So, let me give a pause and any other things which interested, art of tough love, managing Mali to Malik. I think, these are very, very personal to me. I mean, I think they are very important. The other bit we said, said execution. I think, earlier, some of the functions which we talk about, people come with it, the students come with it, I want to do brand management. I think, it doesn't happen like this. I think you need to have flexibility. I think what is, for example, where was IT and computer engineering? When Infosys wanted in tons and tons of people, they have taken civil engineers. Coding. I mean, all this is not a rocket science unless it's a very specific to a particular thing. That sort of flexibility people should have in a mind. Everybody cannot get into dream companies. And I think, our gentleman was saying, if you ask me, I come from very different, very, very similar background, but I'm not a successful entrepreneur like him. But, so I think, it doesn't mean that you don't have IIMs or IITs. That's not the end of the world. As long as you make efforts to come up in life. You see, when I said 20 people were selected from DCM management training, 16 are from IIT. And one is Pilani, one is Delhi Engineering. One chartered accountant, one fellow MBA and law. 20. So, and I rejected XLRI because he said labor relations at that time in 69. So what I'm saying is you can make in life. So I wouldn't have qualified for IIM anyway. In IIT, I never opted. So, but the point remains that if you make hard work, perseverance with personal resilience, many things in life can be achieved. Secondly, I think one of the things which I learned, joy of leadership. You see, there's a famous book, but the point there I learned is happiness brings higher productivity and performance. It is not higher performance and productivity leads to happiness. Tal Bans, there was a writer, I think, so it's important when you start working, realizing, and somebody was talking, a great team is one who have different kinds of people in it. Everybody is a leader, that team will fail. Example, 1983 World Cup, West Indies team. Everybody on his own right could have won the World Cup. And sometimes, the Kodak Nokia case, which depurposed what he has written, I think it's very important we need to understand, there, sometimes what he said, innovation tapering down or complacency should not be developed. Tapering of innovation or complacency, oh, we know, we can do it. You know what I believe? In the World Cup, one of the guys who was the Indian manager there was a dear friend from Hyderabad. He was telling me when first wicket gone, Richard was going, Vivin Richard, Clive Lloyd was padding up because he was 3 down. He tells, skipper, you don't have to pad up, we'll finish off by lunch. And they've ordered 2 or 3 crates of wine to celebrate it. All this wine has been given to Indian team because we didn't expect to win. I think the one guy who was saying we can win and people were laughing at him, as Kapil Dev. So that is what the professional will to do. well and with purpose. I mean, so I think, these are great stories to talk about. I think storytelling, you have a great, knowledge in terms of theory, which I don't have. So I learned after that, when the teamwork, I said, I've read a book. This was a program taught by Belbin himself. Belbin teamwork. He says you want to succeed, you need to have different kinds of people in the team. Everybody is a leader. She is a leader, she is a leader. Who is going to do the job? So I think, these are all very simple things. But if you put it properly, we do quizzes. I mean, there is a way of making people to learn. I think, learning styles, if you see calls, this fellow, Honey Mumford, you see everybody wants a different kind. I come from a old timer. I can't deal with technology beyond a point, but I need to adopt different. That makes me good. Ultimately, I have to read the book. I can't digest seeing it, but that's where, it's whether it's how you want to do it. Ultimately, you have to figure your own way how to do it. Kapil Dev's style is very different from Sunil Gavaskar's style. Saurav Ganguly is very different from MS Dhoni, Virat Kohli, and Rohit Sharma. But, these are different styles. I think, sometimes one style suits at a particular time. At time, not do it. So this is what it is. I think, nice meeting you, sir. Thank you. So any questions? Any comment? You see, that is what the adaptability. Today, when I started my career, I used to report to the managing director as a HR director. So everybody reports to managing director. Jobs were very simple, okay? But then I started reporting to 3 guys. A dotted line to one, functional to London, and for R&D and IT, Singapore. So I think, that is what the life is, is today's situation. It's called networks. You see, we have moved away from hierarchical metric organizations to networks. Profits to purpose. I'm not saying when you have to earn profits, but profits with purpose. So there is a shifts happen, paradigm shifts in the mindset. This is how I worked for 25 years, but last 14 years I need to work differently because for me it's easier because I've never seen a laptop or an iPhone 25 years of my life, but last time I need to. I think it's a question of adopting. As long as you understand why they're doing it, I have a very different view on this. If you ask me personally, it's rubbish because it involves a lot of labor, work to engage so many people. But that is what the whole world is working. So we moved away from, it's more networking. Nobody thought that remote working will work so beautifully. How can it work unless you have a personal contact? He is an expert on that. But I think, some relationship is important. When you didn't have it, because it worked for me many years back when I've sent so many people abroad from GSK, I used to be in touch with him over phone. And that they said that was immense value for him. What I call the psychic income. They feel that, they felt, somebody is in touch with me, they're out of the country, I don't know what's happening. So those are the, there are ways of making interactive still. You also learn the skill of managing intersections that happen. So in the end, I want to end up with the note psychic income. I think, it's very important. Why your company, you worked for 41 years in one company, I said they can have a different answers. We said about something who is a left and how we treated him. I think the way you respect people, you may have a tough call. Tough on issues, soft on people, tough love. But I think what is important is in the process that how you treat him, respect him, those things, walk the talk. I think it's a tone at the top which makes a difference. I think I end up as saying, once I was called to London to come with my wife, that too on Friday, which is very unusual, Friday evening, Saturday, Sunday. No, it's very important, maybe as a merger again, going through a merger. So I landed in the afternoon. So there's the evening, the HR guy, who is a good friend, he came to the room and gave me a brown envelope. Don't get me wrong. So I said, I've opened the envelope. He said this was 2 tickets for Centre Court, Wimbledon, women's finals next day. because I played a very high level of tennis, inter-university, India. Vijay and Anand Amrutraj was junior to us in same college. So, so that was my 25th year of service with the organization. So I think, this need not be Wimbledon. It need not be Lords. I think it's what important how you express that feelings, how you make them, oh, you are important, you belong to us. Those are the things, which makes the difference, in terms of it, because I don't have any credentials or education qualification to talk about it, but you learn from experience. You also experienced it. I don't think my wife would have said, even if he would have got a job also to leave. Why do you leave this company? It's a great company. That psychic income, it's very important. Sometimes you see positional authority versus personal influence. I think, position, you may have a position today, we may not have a position tomorrow, but will you be respected? She respected me, I am grateful. So you respected me. The litmus test is, many people call us, me, saying, sir, I'm in GSK, but I'm getting Asia head, but I want to, what do you think, I should take it, I'll stick to Europe. I said, I've retired now, even the board position 2 years back, but yeah, I don't know reason, but why he is asking me? That the personal credibility of the person. He may give me some advice of mentoring or coaching because he was my mentee, I respect him. So the litmus test is, when you are in position, even if you don't like, you will listen to my feedback, but you will not act. I have to sit before this guy because he is my boss. But I am not listening, actually, physically present. But when you are nothing to do with it, you call me up and said, many people do it, and I used to do it in my life. That is your personal credibility, influence that you can have an impact on their decision or provide them some mentoring or guide. So this is what I have to say. Thank you very much for your patient hearing. Last one, I would say, there are 4 kinds of people. People who do not know what's happening, people to whom things happen, people who cannot understand, last but not the least, people who makes things happen. I wish you are those distinguished minority but distinguished people who can make things happen. Wish you all the best. Have a great time.
Street smartness, sense of humor, care for people, sound judgment, and high levels of energy. I'm sure all of us agree with what Sir just said. I request Dr. Vijay Shahane to present a memento to Mr. Dwarakanath as a token of thanks. Thank you, sir.